La la la, la 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 la.
Well, three reasons. Nobody knows which ones is right. She was all ready to be born, naturally. And I begged them to let her be born naturally, but I was supposed to be operated on so that I couldn't have any more children because it was dangerous for me to. And they took her back and took her by cesarean. And then, when she was just a tiny baby, I had her all soaked up on the bassinet, ready for a bath, when the phone rang, and my husband was in the insurance business, and I had to answer the phone, so I told the lady who was helping me to hold her on the bassinet, but not to pick her up. I heard a thump and a scream, and I knew she had been dropped. The lady said no, she hadn't dropped her. I knew because her soft spot healed up, and her eyes crossed. Then the other instance was, there was one case of polio in Eastport when she was about 18 months old. Although she was never diagnosed as having had it, her legs became all scrawny and thin, and I really don't know if she had it or not, but those are the three things that might have caused her trouble.
See, I thought I was the only one, and no, I'm not. And it's a lot of children like that.
We took her to different places to see if we could make things better for her. We sent her to a school in the mountains. There was a man there that took international children, and it had very rigid discipline. That didn't work out at all. And then we took her to Laconia, New Hampshire, to a psychologist there. He said she'd never be just right. But then I went home to see my mother. I felt I needed to. And, of course, I was heartbroken. My mother sent her blessings here.
Now, what is so-called normal intelligence quotient? What does that range fall into?
The normal average runs from, in terms of IQ, from about 90 to 110.
Now, we've been told that Judy's IQ fell in about 66 range, which is about, how do you measure that in terms of where she would be on the scale? She'd be below the scale, right?
She would be well below average. She would be in the mentally retarded, the borderline, educable, but mentally retarded.
What kinds of things would she be tested in the Binet? Identification, pictures, blocks, motor skills? What kinds of things?
You've got it, all of them.
Okay.
It's with an intelligence test like this, it's not testing just one particular cognitive function, but it's trying to cover many cognitive functions so we can get a sampling, which makes it predictive of what they will be doing later on in school.
Our family was really special anyway, and Mom and Dad had to be in order to keep her at home. A lot of the doctors and everybody thought Mom and Dad should just put her away in a home and go and see her on weekends and that type of thing. And Mom and Dad kept her and nurtured her and taught her.
For the most part, family members were left with relying upon their physicians, and many of those physicians then used to recommend to family members that the best thing that they could do was to institutionalize their child, in essence put them away and forget them. And many families did that. Many families chose to institutionalize their children. The state encouraged that. The physicians encouraged that. Many of the professionals in the community encouraged that. And so Maine followed what many other states did, in that their institutions grew very quickly. And for the most part, people got there at a very young age and stayed till they died. That all began to change in the later part of the 60s as the efforts for community integration, parents groups started to get reformed, and it started to energize. And in 1966, primarily through a book that was published called Christmas in Purgatory, a reawakening of what was happening in institutions happened. That also happened in Maine, and in the latter part of the 70s, the church, the Catholic Church in Maine began to publish an expose of the conditions at Pineland, and it labeled some of the residential units there as snake pits. And as a result of that, federal court involvement, changes in the community, attitudes, changes in the professional community, changes with the technology of how to provide services for people with mental retardation, created a very, very significant shift away from institutional services and towards the establishment of community programs for people with mental retardation. Today, for example, less than 6% of the people in Maine have their roots to the institution, and the vast majority of people have never seen the insides of an institution, nor do any plans indicate that that should be a direction for the services.
The institutions were very large, overcrowded. Many of the buildings in the institutions were very overcrowded and understaffed is probably a general way to describe it. In terms of treatment, unless for the most capable folks, there really wasn't active treatment as we know it today. The move to go with a regional concept is basically to get people to some degree out of the institutions back into their home region. So what was in the past was kind of a segregated program. The institutions, of course, were segregated geographically and environmentally. Was now a total integration effort, focusing on getting people involved in their communities, becoming part of their communities, becoming less dependent on services, and with whatever support they need, very individualized kinds of support, making them contributing members of their communities.
But tell me about Mansfield. What was that like?
Oh my Lord, I enjoy that mostly.
Tell me about why.
Enjoy the little children suffering.
What kinds of things did you do there?
I put their stockings and shoes on and bath them, 3 at the time. And you had to watch this boy. Was emotional, and you had to watch him because he put a hand in the sink, you know.
Yeah.
And hot water would pour on his hand, boiling water.
What did you do that for?
I don't know. He just wanted to put it there, and I said, no. I took it off quick. Nobody was there. Nobody was in the room there.
You felt needed there.
I felt needed there, and I cared for people, see.
Yeah.
And I thought I was the only one, but I don't think so. And I know now I'm not the only one.
Judy wasn't the only one then. She isn't today. There are many like her still. But what has changed is the environment. A move away from institutions like Pineland and Mansfield to group homes like this one. An opportunity to work either in a sheltered workshop situation or public places. And finally, a chance to become independent, even to have your own apartment.
You make your own hours.
Yeah,
You come and go when you want to.
yeah,
Get your own meals.
yeah.
Nobody looking over your shoulder.
No.
And you've got a lot of freedom, right?
Yeah,
You like it.
yeah.
You want to stay here, right?
Oh, yeah.
Judy, tell me a little bit about your early childhood. When you were growing up in Eastport, and when you were small, even with Mummy, what was it like?
Well,
Remember when you used to be taunted by kids?
I remember teased. You mean?
Yeah, teased.
Oh, gee, I didn't like that at all.
Yeah.
I didn't like that at all.
They used to make you cry, didn't they?
They did.
And then we used to have to stick up for you.
Yeah.
Tell me about Eastport and your memories of Eastport, Judy. What was that like?
Oh, it was lovely.
What way, dear?
Oh, I love Eastport.
What kinds of memories do you have there?
Oh, happy ones. I used to play with children, the ocean splashes and everything. I love everything about it.
How do people treat you here?
They treat me lovely.
Judy. Yeah, Judy.
Treat me good.
You think that's why do you think that is? Is because they've accepted you here?
They accepted me. Somebody in Eastport, Newbury's, Diane, what's her name? I don't know her last name, but she said, "How come you're so happy?" I say, "I think of other people but myself. That's how I'm happy. I like to see other people happy.
And you like to sing.
I like to sing too. I like to see people happy singing."
Now you discovered that Judy had some talent on her own. How did you discover that?
Well, music was a very important part of our family life. I played the piano, my husband played the sax, my son played the trumpet. My other daughter, Lala Jane, composed songs and played the piano. But when Judy was just very small, just barely able to reach the top of the side of the piano, I was playing one day, I was kind of blue, and I always play when I'm blue. And she started to harmonize. Then I knew I had found her talent. From then on, I taught her different songs. Soon she was able to talk. She was slow in talking. And she sung in different places, churches, Eastern Star, different places. She still sings. She has a beautiful singing voice, and she can harmonize. She can sing alto, tenor, lead, anything.
Always heard the one you love, the one you shouldn't hurt at all. You always take the sweetest rose and crush it till the petals fall. You always bring the kindest heart with a hasty word you can't recall. So if I broke your heart last night, it's because I love you most of all.
I remember one picture that we have that we're just going through some of the pictures of the family, and one picture in particular stands out at Jeffrey's birthday party, and the children were all little, of course, and Judy was standing there with an expression on her face that showed forth her feelings very clearly. She was a little bit hurt and a little bit jealous because the children were getting more attention than she was, and of course she was used to having most of Mom and Dad's attention.
I mean, Judy brings joy where she goes. Now, sometimes I think we'd all be better off if we were like Judy.
What way?
Well, Judy's happy, isn't she? Isn't that what people are striving for, is to be happy? Sometimes people get hung up with their own inferiorities and their own, foibles or whatever, and Judy's just able to laugh at herself. And she makes you laugh at yourself. And you just kind of let your hair down and just be natural. And it's a gift. We're all individuals. You can analyze anybody.
But even children will go to Judy.
That's
People
interesting.
that don't even know Judy will go to Judy.
That's true, isn't it?
Children, animals, Ooby-Doo will go right up to Judy.
Oh, yeah.
Even if he had never seen her before. And children will open their arms to Judy.
I wonder why that is.
I don't know, because I think she radiates
Yeah.
the welcomeness.
She's loving. And she accepts people, and she doesn't have a lot of the hang-ups that
We do.
we do.
What about the values that you have and you passed on to her and to your children? Do these count at all in coping with...
I think so. I always tried to instill in my children confidence that they could do anything they set their minds to if they worked hard enough at it. And I think they all have, including Judy.
Judy, what kinds of things has your mother helped you with?
She's did my hair, comb my hair and everything, told me what to do and take a bath and things like that, and she understood everything about me. She taught me how to talk correctly. And she says, no, it's like this, talk straight. So she showed me how.
How was your feeling about the marriage? And
I had a lot of doubt about that. I didn't think she could cope with marriage. And I talked with her prospective bridegroom and told him what he would have to look forward to, that he'd have to take care of her. There are a lot of areas that he might not quite understand. Sometimes she laughs a little bit too loud. Sometimes she cries for no apparent reason. And she loves to buy things, but she doesn't really understand just how, well, I don't know. Anyway, I explained it to him, but he loved her. And I finally came to the conclusion that it was best for her to have someone who loves her and that she loves for when I'm gone.
I met Judy after I prayed about it. I asked the Lord to show me by a certain date the girl he wanted me to marry, and he said he would show me by a certain date, but not the date I'd chosen. He showed me a different date altogether. And by the date that he showed me, I met Judy down at Second Baptist Church in Calais on that date.
And how did you know she was the one for you?
Well, she was singing those two songs she sang about how great thou art, and there's something about that name I just knew within me from the Lord that this was the one.
Why would you let two people like Ron and Judy use your old place free of rent without charging them anything?
Right now, they need a place.
That's true,
you know,
yeah.
And they're there. They're taking care of it. And, you know.
When we first bought the place, why
We were
it was just sitting there empty, and we were in Massachusetts, so we figured instead of them, you know, bumming around, that they may as well stay there.
Sure.
Stay there in the
And
house.
since we moved up, we haven't decided anything to do with the house, so we just decided to let them stay, you know, until we decide to do something.
Well, they're happy together, and that's the main thing. Right?
That's what counts.
They
Yeah.
have each other. It's really a wonderful thing when you stop to think about it. Judy is, you know, blessed in a lot of ways to have this, to have Ron and that, and to have her family, all of you, looking out for her. She's been, you know,
Yes, it is.
blessed in a lot of ways.
Tell us about your life together. What's it? Is your life different? Or the same? What's your life like?
It changed.
What do you mean it changed?
Well, I changed completely. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
It
So,
was-
so married life was changed.
It's a miracle,
It was.
which is God wanted me to meet a fellow, and he picked Ronnie.
Yeah. Bother you sometimes, Ron? You don't have a lot of material things that you'd like to have? Or does it matter
No.
at all? You say no. Why? Why do you say that? No.
No, if we meant to have them, we'd have them.
You think someday you will have them?
Eventually, yes.
So you just got to have faith, right? That you will have those things. And you believe that'll happen.
Soon.
You are an uninhibited person. It doesn't matter to you. If you feel like hugging somebody, you hug them, right?
That's right. But if they don't want it, no.
You don't.
I just stay away. I just say, if that's the way you feel about it, I'll stay away.
Yeah. Ron, do you think that some people are carefully taught that they don't know how to react to Judy when she hugs them and is natural? Otherwise, a lot of times Judy would just come out and she'll hug somebody and she'll laugh. That's the way she is. Did you think that's...
Well, I haven't seen anybody back off. They may have thought it, but...
Yeah, right.
I've known Judy for probably 28 years, somewhere within that area, and I've never known her but to be a happy girl that loved to sing and did so, and usually there were hymns or religious music that she sang.
No one would be.
I remember her as always being, having a sunny disposition, always and caring about other people.
Of course, her mother's been a wonderful influence for her because she's helped her and trained her to become the wonderful person that she is today.
She's good thoroughly, all the way through.
One of the nicest hymns that I have heard Judy sing probably was, "Were you there when they crucified my Lord?"
When they crucified my Lord, were you there when they crucified my Lord? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they crucified my Lord?
When she sings, there is a special ability that she has to let her feelings and her heart flow through. And so there's something wonderful to be in the audience when Judy sings. It's a special thing, and so we're always glad that that she can help. Also, I feel that Judy has not worked as hard as some of us have at projecting a false image or a false persona to the rest of the world. She doesn't have some of the walls built up. With Judy, what you see is what you get, and she's very loving person. She's vulnerable. She shows you what she's really thinking, and in all of that, I believe that there's something for us to learn, because there's a beauty there, because the true self can come through so easily.
I went to school, and the kid made fun of me, you know that. And so I quit school, and I graduated from the 8th grade. And I thought I was the only one that sang outdoor. And I said, where's everybody gone? Why do they leave me like that for? Then, anyway, Daddy taught me how to speak good English, so did Mom. How to say words correctly. And corrected me everything I did. So they loved me a lot, and they moved away from Calais to go to they moved away from Eastport to take me to Bangor, see if I was going to special school. They found out I was smarter than the kids were. Then they took me back. Then I said, you did everything for me, didn't you? Yeah. She said, yes, I did. So that's what I remember about Mom.
What do you think you'll do when Mommy goes?
I'll be lost.
Why do you say that, dear?
Well, nobody to come home to when I want to go up to Calais. Nobody to see.
You think Mommy's taking pretty good care of you?
Very good care. She understood me. Oh my Lord, if it wasn't for them, I would, they taught me how to talk and did things, They understood everything I did.
How did this change the family, having Judy as a child?
Well, my husband was very supportive, as were my son and daughter. They were very protective of her. It used to break my heart when the children would make fun of her. And I know it must have bothered her terribly. But she always had us. We always loved her. We were never ashamed to take her anywhere. I took her to restaurants. I took her to movies. And I entered her in talent contests, which lots of times she won.
Mm-hmm. Now, looking back on that, you think you made the right decision? You wouldn't have thrown her away as some people...
No.
Some people feel that a girl like that, you've been told many times that she was not going to be cured. You stuck to it.
She was much more of a joy than she ever was a sorrow.
How do you think Judy changed the family? Not just Judy as Judy, but how did it change the family?
Well, it certainly made us more patient with her and with each other, and made us more aware of our own selves and the abilities, the God-given abilities that we have and that we take so for granted that she didn't have and that she had to work at, like coordination.
Have you ever been ashamed of her because she's retarded?
No, I've never been ashamed of Judy because she's retarded. I don't really consider her retarded, I guess. I consider her special. There's a difference.
Sure is.
I'm going to cry. Judy is so special. She really is.
Because a lot of people...
And there are a lot of people like that in the world. And we call them retarded. And in some areas they may be. But in other areas they're not. And we've got to see those areas that are not and work them up to their potential. Or their potential is lost.
And so many people are being lost.
They are. And they're being discarded.
Thrown away.
So, yeah, and they're not garbage. They're not garbage to be thrown away.
That's what makes her so special.
There's potential there in people like Judy. And that potential, they have to be pushed to work up to their potential.
And thank God she's got a life of her own.
Yes, and she does. I taught her how to cook. I worked with her when Frank was in Vietnam. I worked with her. You know, when I had my babies, I know one of my friends said, well, you're not going to let Judy take care of the baby, are you? And I said, well, why wouldn't I let Judy hold the baby and take care of my baby? What do you think she's going to do to them? She said, well, she might drop them or hurt them. I said, Judy would not deliberately hurt one hair on those babies.
Has life been worth living?
Oh my, yes.
Yeah.
I had a very happy marriage, wonderful children. I have grandchildren, great-grandchildren. So why not?
I'm her brother, the guy whose voice is on the tape, the guy who asked the questions. Judy is unique. She's different. In an age of distrust, she trusts. In the time of cynicism, she believes. She's unique. She's different. She's refreshing.
I've always said that our Judy bug has more sense than what we call normal people. I really do believe that, because she is very sensitive to people who like her. She's sensitive to people who don't like her. She is sensitive to people who are angry, who are callous, and no matter what they seem to do to her, she has a way of forgetting it very quickly and opening herself up and loving them once again.
I had a very good life.
Yeah.
And I'm happy.